The invitation arrived in the most unassuming way possible. A message on Jared's comlink, blinking soft blue in the dim glow of his apartment. He had been halfway through an instant noodle dinner, staring absent-mindedly at a holoscreen playing a rerun of Galactic Gladiators, a ridiculous over-the-top show featuring contestants fighting in zero gravity, when the notification chimed. He swiped at the air, expecting some mundane reminder about overdue rent or another spam ad for cybernetic hair implants. Seriously, why did those companies think he was balding? Instead, the message read, "Jared, come over tonight. Important." It was from Lyrian. Now, Lyrian wasn't the type to send cryptic messages. She was normally very direct, the kind of person who said exactly what was on her mind. That was something Jared appreciated about her. There were no games, no passive-aggressive hints, just blunt honesty, sometimes bordering on terrifying. So, why did this message feel off? Maybe it was the lack of her usual sarcasm. Maybe it was the single-word sentences. Or maybe it was the fact that she had never once invited him over to her place in the entire 2 years he had known her. Jared chewed the inside of his cheek, staring at the message like it might spontaneously offer more context. Then he sighed. "Yeah, sure, why not? It's not like my evening plans of watching simulated blood sports and eating sodium bricks were that exciting." He grabbed his jacket, activated his hoverboard, and set off toward the city's upper sector, where Lyrian lived. Lyrian's apartment was located in one of the more upscale districts of Nova Prime, a massive, sprawling metropolis built on a floating platform above Earth's polluted surface. Jared always felt out of place here. The streets were too clean, the buildings too smooth and organic, as if they had been grown rather than built, which, given that a lot of them had been grown using bioengineered architecture, wasn't far from the truth. He stopped outside her door, hesitated for a second, then knocked. A few beats later, the door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing Lyrian standing there, arms crossed, ears twitching slightly. "About time," she said. "Good to see you too," Jared replied. "You know, most people just say hi when they open the door. Maybe throw in a 'welcome, dear friend, to my humble abode.'" Lyrian arched an eyebrow. "Would you prefer I bow and offer you a ceremonial drink?" "I mean, yeah, a little ceremony would be nice. Maybe some candles, a rug leading to a throne where you—" Lyrian grabbed his arm and yanked him inside. Okay, geez," Jared muttered, rubbing his wrist. "For someone with fancy, elongated ears, you sure don't have a lot of patience." Lyrian's apartment was odd. It was designed to look normal. Sofa, table, walls, the usual setup. But something about it felt wrong. Maybe it was the fact that the walls didn't quite stay still, as if they were subtly shifting in response to movement, or the way the ceiling lights floated in the air like lazy fireflies instead of being fixed to anything, or the faint hum that vibrated through his bones, like the apartment itself was alive. Jared turned slowly, taking it all in. "So," he said, "you're either secretly rich and just never told me, or this place is built with some seriously weird tech." Lyrian shut the door behind him and leaned against it, arms still crossed. "Weird tech. Cool. And, is it supposed to feel like I just walked into a sentient jellyfish?" Lyrian smirked. "It's bioreactive. My species prefers living spaces that adapt to our needs." Jared nodded slowly. "Neat. Well, if your walls start breathing, I'm leaving." Lyrian's smirk widened, but she didn't argue. Instead, she motioned to the dining area, where a sleek, transparent table was set with plates of food. "You're hungry, right?" Jared squinted at the meal. "That depends. Is this a normal dinner, or am I about to eat something that's going to give me night vision and the ability to smell emotions?" Lyrian tilted her head. "That only happened once." Jared sighed, plopping into a chair. "Fine, but if I grow a second heart, I'm sending you the medical bill." He picked up a piece of something that looked vaguely like sushi and popped it into his mouth. Immediately, his entire body tingled. His pupils dilated, his fingers twitched, and, for some reason, he became acutely aware of how many molecules of oxygen were in the room. Lyrian watched, amused. "Well?" Jared blinked rapidly. "I can hear colors." "Ah," she said, nodding. That means it's working. What's working? Jared asked, voice slightly higher than usual. Lyrian sat across from him, resting her chin on her hands. The adjustment process, Jared swallowed. I don't like the way you said that, Lyrian sighed. I was going to ease you into this conversation, but you're making it difficult. Jared, I need to ask you something important. Okay, he said slowly. But quick question. Why do I feel like my atoms are rearranging themselves? Side effect, she said dismissively. Now listen. Jared exhaled through his nose, gripping the table. Fine. What's so important? Lyrian's violet eyes locked onto his. Would you be willing to leave Earth? Jared blinked. Like, for a trip? Lyrian shook her head. For good. A beat of silence stretched between them. Jared chuckled awkwardly. Okay, very funny. You almost got me. Almost. I'm not joking, Jared. Her voice was quiet, serious. For the first time that night, Jared felt a prickle of unease crawl up his spine. He set down his utensils, forcing a chuckle. Okay, clearly I've had too much of whatever that food was. Let's rewind. You're asking if I'd, what? Just leave my whole life behind. My job, my friends, my apartment that barely passes safety inspections? Yes. Because? Lyrian hesitated, and for the first time since he had met her, she looked nervous. Because it's no longer safe for you here. Jared's mouth went dry. Something was very, very wrong. He leaned forward, forcing a grin. Cool? Cool. So just to clarify, this isn't a fun, spontaneous road trip situation? Lyrian's ears twitched. No. Jared nodded slowly. Then, he did what any rational person would do when faced with the prospect of an alien friend casually suggesting interstellar relocation. He bolted for the door. Jared didn't get far. He had barely taken 3 strides toward the door when the room itself betrayed him. The walls rippled like disturbed water, stretching and twisting as if the apartment had suddenly decided it was done with traditional physics. The door, which had been a perfectly normal exit just seconds ago, elongated and melted into the wall like wax under a heat lamp. Jared skidded to a stop. Okay, he said, raising a hand. I take back everything I said about liking the weird sci-fi aesthetic of this place. Could you please not let your apartment eat the door? Lyrian sighed. Jared, just sit down. Yeah, see, I would, but I have this really strong instinctual aversion to situations where my only exit literally disintegrates in front of me. He turned back to her, putting his hands on his hips. You get that, right? This is the part where I panic? Lyrian pinched the bridge of her nose, her long ears twitching in frustration. The apartment isn't eating the door. I activated the security field so you don't do something stupid, like try to jump out a window. Jared frowned. Okay, first of all, how dare you assume I would do something that reckless? You would? Yeah, okay, I would. But it's still rude to assume. Lyrian folded her arms. Are you done? Jared exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I want to be done, but you just asked me if I'd leave Earth forever, then locked me in a sentient apartment. So I'm struggling a little here. Lyrian tilted her head. Would you like a drink? Jared narrowed his eyes. Are you trying to drug me? She rolled her eyes. It's tea. Jared considered this. Is it regular tea, or is it going to give me laser vision? Lyrian sighed, walked to a sleek silver counter, and retrieved a small container. She poured a steaming cup of something deep blue and placed it in front of him. It's just tea, Jared. Jared sniffed it suspiciously, then took a sip. It was warm, slightly sweet, and, thankfully, not hallucinogenic. All right, he muttered, sitting back down. I'll bite. What the hell is going on? Lyrian sat across from him, her fingers laced together. For a moment she just studied him, her expression unreadable. Then she spoke. My people want you. Jared blinked. Okay, that's very ominous. Care to elaborate? She hesitated. You remember the Grand Accord? Yeah. Hard to forget the thing that stopped us from getting turned into a galactic nature preserve. The Grand Accord had been a diplomatic agreement signed between humanity and several alien species, preventing Earth from becoming an off-limits, quarantined world. Basically, it was the only reason humans were allowed to participate in interstellar civilization instead of being treated like primitive pets. Lyrian nodded. Well, not everyone agreed with it. There are factions among my people who believe Earth should have been claimed, that humans are unpredictable and dangerous. Jared frowned. Okay, rude. It's not an opinion I share, she said quickly, but some of my kind believe humans should be managed. Jared raised an eyebrow. Managed? As in, monitored, controlled. Jared tapped his fingers against the table. Lyrian, are you telling me I've been monitored this whole time? Not directly, she said, but you've attracted attention. Jared leaned back. All right, let's take a second here. What exactly did I do that made a bunch of long-eared space aristocrats put me on their radar? Lyrian looked genuinely uncomfortable. It's not what you did, it's what you are. Jared squinted. Yeah, I'm going to need more details than that. Lyrian hesitated. Then with a flick of her fingers, she activated a small, hovering holographic display above the table. A document appeared, filled with alien text, and at the very top, his own face. Jared pointed at it. See this? This right here? This is exactly the kind of thing that makes me want to jump out a window. Lyrian ignored him. This is a dossier compiled by a faction known as the Celestial Directive. They're a group within my people's government that believes certain humans have special genetic markers, traits that make them unique, valuable. Jared frowned. You're saying I'm special? Not in the way you're thinking. Jared put a hand on his chest, mock offended. Wow, way to crush a guy's self-esteem. Lyrian gave him a flat look. Jared, this is serious. Yeah, I know, He sighed, rubbing his temples. Okay, fine. I'll stop making jokes. What exactly do they want from me? Lyrian hesitated again, which Jared was really starting to hate. They want to take you to my homeworld, study you, possibly use you. Jared's stomach twisted. Use me? I don't know how, Lyrian admitted, but I know this. They're sending people here. Soon. Jared's mind raced. So let me get this straight. Some secret alien organization wants to kidnap me because I have special genetics, and your solution is to also take me off-world. Lyrian nodded. It's the only way to keep you safe. Jared stared at her. Then he exhaled through his nose, shaking his head. Okay, counter-proposal. I stay right here, and instead of me leaving Earth, we punch the people trying to kidnap me. Lyrian sighed. I had a feeling you'd say that. And I locked the door for a reason. Jared's eyes widened. Oh, hell no. He jumped up, bolting for the window, but before he could even reach it, the entire wall shimmered, twisting into an unbreakable, semi-translucent barrier. He turned back to Lyrian, breathless. You knew I'd try to escape? You're predictable, she said simply. Jared groaned, dragging a hand down his face. Okay, fine. Let's say, for argument's sake, that I go with you. What happens then? Lyrian's expression softened. Then I can protect you. I can keep them from taking you for their own purposes. Jared stared at her, searching for any sign that this was some elaborate prank, but she was serious. Dead serious. Finally, he sighed, collapsing back into the chair. All right, I might consider this whole running away to space plan, but only on one condition. Lyrian raised an eyebrow. Which is? Jared pointed at his empty teacup. You get me more of this tea because I am not making life-changing decisions while sober. Jared was still trying to process the fact that his genetic material had apparently made it onto some kind of intergalactic most wanted list when Lyrian shoved another cup of glowing blue tea into his hands. You'll need your strength, she said, sitting across from him. Jared eyed the drink suspiciously. Right, because nothing says make clear-headed decisions like alien tea that may or may not rewire my DNA. Lyrian gave him a look. It's just calming herbs. Herbs? Oh, so this is space chamomile? He took a sip anyway. Oh, okay, that's actually pretty good. If I die, at least I'll die hydrated. Lyrian exhaled, pinching the bridge of her nose. Jared, focus. Focusing is hard when you just told me I'm valuable enough for aliens to hunt me down like I'm some kind of galactic Pokemon. Lyrian frowned. What? Never mind, Jared muttered. He set the cup down and leaned forward. Let's go over this again. There's a group of long-eared space bureaucrats who think I have special genes. They want to kidnap me and, what? Study me? Clone me? Turn me into some kind of weird space battery? Lyrian hesitated. I don't know exactly what they want, but I do know that when the Celestial Directive wants something, they get it, and they don't ask nicely. Jared let that sink in. He had always assumed his biggest problem in life would be things like paying rent on time, avoiding his passive-aggressive boss, or trying to convince his comlink to stop sending him targeted ads for cybernetic hair implants. But this was a next-level paranoia fuel. So, he said, rubbing his temples, if I agree to this little field trip, how exactly do you plan on getting me off-world? You have, like, a spaceship parked outside? Lyrian smirked. Something like that. That is both reassuring and deeply concerning, Jared muttered. Lyrian stood. We don't have much time. The directive's people could already be watching. If we're going to do this, we have to leave now. Jared glanced at the still solid door. And by leave, you mean? Lyrian tapped her wristband, and suddenly the walls of the apartment rippled again. Except this time, they didn't just shift. They vanished, melting away like fog under a sunrise. In an instant, Jared found himself staring at something that definitely was not a standard Nova Prime cityscape. A sleek, black ship hovered just beyond what had once been the walls of Lyrian's apartment. It was smooth, streamlined, and completely silent, its dark hull reflecting the neon glow of the city beyond it. A hatch on the side was already open, waiting. Jared blinked. That was here the whole time? Lyrian shrugged. I keep it cloaked. Of course you do, Jared muttered. Because why wouldn't my weird alien best friend have a secret spaceship parked inside her own living room? Are you coming or not? She asked, already stepping toward the ship. Jared hesitated. This was insane. Absolutely insane. 1 minute he was eating instant noodles and watching a dumb reality show, and the next he was being told to abandon everything he knew and escape Earth before some shadowy alien organization could get their hands on him. But then he looked at Lyrian, really looked at her. She wasn't joking. She wasn't exaggerating. For the first time since he had met her, she actually looked worried. Jared exhaled. You know, this is the part in every horror story where the idiot human makes the worst possible decision. And yet here you are, Lyrian said. Yeah, Jared muttered. Shut up and let me have my dramatic moment. Then before he could second-guess himself, he stepped onto the ship. The inside of the vessel was sleek and minimalist, but there was an odd warmth to it, as if the ship itself had a personality. The walls had a faint glow, pulsing softly with Lyrian's movements, and Jared had the distinct impression that the ship knew it had a guest. This thing better not talk, Jared said, eyeing the interior. It doesn't, Lyrian replied, tapping a panel on the wall. The hatch sealed shut behind them, and with a smooth, soundless shift, the ship lifted away from the floating city. Jared swallowed as he watched the glowing spires of Nova Prime shrink below them. So, does my departure come with a dramatic farewell? Or am I just going to be listed as missing, presumed abducted in tomorrow's news cycle? Lyrian smirked. I wiped all records of you before we left. As far as Earth is concerned, you never existed. Jared choked. I'm sorry, what? It's safer this way. Jared ran a hand down his face. Oh, great. Wonderful. I'm officially a non-person. Love that for me. Lyrian took her seat at the control console, adjusting their trajectory. You'll get used to it. Jared plopped into the co-pilot seat, rubbing his temples. You say that like I don't have so many follow-up questions? Lyrian didn't respond immediately. She was too focused on the ship's controls. But after a moment, she turned to him, her expression serious. You trust me, don't you? Jared hesitated. Did he? Lyrian had always been a little weird, a little cryptic, but she had never lied to him, not once. Yeah, he admitted. I do. Lyrian nodded. Then trust me when I say that leaving was the only choice. Jared sighed, slumping back in his seat. Fine, but if we get to your planet and I find out this whole thing was just an elaborate setup to make me part of some weird space zoo, I'm suing someone. Lyrian grinned. I'll be sure to warn my government about the impending lawsuit. Jared groaned, covering his face with his hands. I cannot believe this is my life now. Outside, the stars stretched as the ship engaged its faster-than-light drive, leaving Earth and Jared's old life far behind. The ship hummed with a low, soothing frequency as it hurtled through space, leaving Earth and everything Jared had ever known behind. The realization still hadn't fully hit him. Okay, he muttered, rubbing his hands together. So, quick recap. In the last 24 hours, I've gone from eating suspiciously cheap noodles in my apartment to being kidnapped, invited, onto an alien spaceship, where I've learned that I apparently have special genes that make me valuable to a bunch of intergalactic creeps. Did I miss anything? Lyrian, focused on the control panel, didn't look up. You also had tea. Jared exhaled. Right. How could I forget? The trauma-suppressing space tea. He gestured vaguely at their surroundings. So what's the plan here? We just cruise through the cosmos, hoping these people don't find me? Because I feel like that's a very hope is our strategy kind of approach. And let me tell you, hope doesn't have a great track record in my life. Lyrian tapped a sequence of glowing symbols on the console, adjusting their course. I'm taking you to my homeworld, Velmara. It's one of the safest places in the quadrant. No one can touch you there. Jared raised an eyebrow. And what exactly is stopping these celestial directive guys from just waltzing in and demanding I be handed over? Lyrian's ears twitched slightly. Velmara is politically complicated. Jared groaned, slumping into his seat. Oh, good, because nothing makes me feel safer than being a pawn in an alien diplomatic chess game. Lyrian sighed, finally turning to face him. You're not a pawn. I wouldn't have brought you if I didn't think it was the best way to protect you. Jared studied her for a moment. There was something about the way she said it, something almost too casual, like she was trying very hard to make it sound simple, which meant it wasn't. Uh-huh, he said slowly. And I'm supposed to believe that this has nothing to do with whatever secret mission you've been on for the past 6 months. Lyrian's expression didn't change, but her fingers tightened slightly on the edge of the console. Bingo. Jared leaned forward. Come on, Lyrian. You disappear for half a year, show up out of nowhere acting all mysterious, and now you're telling me that taking me off-world is the only way to keep me safe? Something doesn't add up. Lyrian exhaled, running a hand through her hair. For a moment, Jared thought she wasn't going to answer, but then she looked at him and her expression was different. Not just serious, conflicted. The directive's interest in humans isn't new, she said finally. They've been watching Earth for years, looking for anomalies. Jared narrowed his eyes. Anomalies like me? Not just you, she admitted, but you're the first one they've confirmed. Jared felt something cold settle in his stomach. Confirmed for what exactly? Lyrian hesitated. Jared, Before she could finish, the ship's interior lights flickered. A sharp digital chirp echoed through the cabin, followed by a blinking red symbol on the control panel. Lyrian swore under her breath. We've got a problem. Jared sat up straighter. Define problem. Lyrian's fingers danced over the controls. A ship just dropped out of FTL behind us. They're following our trajectory. Jared blinked. Already? We barely left Earth 5 minutes ago. They must have had a tracker on you, Lyrian muttered. Damn it, I should have scanned for one. Okay, look, we can deal with blame later. Jared pointed at the flashing display. How do we lose them? Lyrian's eyes flicked over the data. They're fast, but we have the advantage in maneuverability. If I can get us into a dense asteroid field, I might be able to shake them. Jared stared at her. You might be able to shake them? She shot him a look. Would you prefer I tell you I have a guaranteed plan? Jared gestured wildly. Yes, actually. Lyrian ignored him and flipped a few switches. The ship lurched, its engines flaring brighter as she adjusted their trajectory. A moment later, Jared saw it, a vast asteroid belt stretching across the void ahead of them, a chaotic mess of tumbling rock and debris. Jared paled. Oh, hell no! You are not seriously about to pull a high-speed chase through a death maze. Lyrian smirked. You wanted a plan. Jared groaned, gripping the armrests. For the record, this is not what I meant. Lyrian ignored him and gunned the engines. The ship surged forward, angling straight for the asteroid field. Behind them, the pursuing vessel adjusted its course to follow. Jared clenched his teeth as they weaved through the dense field of tumbling rock. The ship jerked left, then right, avoiding massive chunks of debris with razor-thin precision. Jared sucked in a breath as a particularly massive asteroid spun into their path. Lyrian. I see it, she muttered. Jared squeezed his eyes shut. If we die, I want you to know this was a terrible idea. At the last second, Lyrian flipped the ship into a sudden roll, skimming along the asteroid's surface so closely that Jared swore he could hear it. The pursuing vessel wasn't as lucky. It clipped the edge of the asteroid, sending it into an uncontrolled spin. Jared opened one eye. Did we just? Lyrian smirked. We lost them. Jared slumped back in his seat. I take back every complaint I ever made about your driving. That was simultaneously the most terrifying and impressive thing I've ever seen. Lyrian shrugged. You get used to it. Jared exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Okay, so, new problem. If they track me once, they can probably do it again. What do we do now? Lyrian's expression turned thoughtful. We need to remove whatever tracker they planted on you, and I have a contact who can help. Jared narrowed his eyes. Do I even want to know what kind of contact? She grinned. Oh, you'll love her. She's a genius, and also mildly unhinged. Jared groaned. Oh, fantastic. Just what I needed. A space mechanic with questionable sanity. Lyrian patted his shoulder. Don't worry, she's very good at what she does. Jared sighed. Great, because my life wasn't already chaotic enough. Outside, the asteroid belt faded behind them as the ship set a new course, carrying them deeper into the unknown. The ship coasted through the void, its engines humming at a low, steady frequency. Jared sat in the co-pilot seat, still trying to unclench his muscles after their asteroid-dodging escapade. His pulse had finally returned to something resembling normal human levels. Lyrian, ever unbothered by near-death experiences, was coolly adjusting their course. The woman had just outmaneuvered an enemy vessel in a high-speed pursuit through an asteroid field, and here she was, looking like she had just wrapped up a relaxing afternoon drive. Jared shook his head. You know, I always assumed if I ever had to flee for my life, it'd be from, like, an angry landlord or a very determined vacuum salesman, not space cops. Lyrian smirked. I love that those are your two examples. Jared pointed at her. You laugh, but you've never met my landlord. The man has the tracking instincts of a bloodhound. I swear I once changed my number and moved to a different district, and he still found me. Sounds like he should work for the Celestial Directive? Jared groaned. Don't even joke about that. He stretched, rolling his shoulders. All right, so, next move. You said you've got a contact who can help get this tracker off me? Lyrian nodded. Her name's Ryla. She's unconventional. Jared arched an eyebrow. Define unconventional. She's a genius mechanic. Jared crossed his arms. That doesn't answer my question. Lyrian hesitated. She's also mildly paranoid and may or may not be on multiple watch lists. Jared groaned, letting his head fall back against the seat. Of course she is. You'll like her, Lyrian assured him. She has a very specific sense of humor. Jared squinted at her. So what you're saying is, she's completely insane. Lyrian tapped a few controls, engaging the autopilot. You say that like it's a bad thing. Jared muttered something under his breath about reevaluating his life choices, but before he could launch into another rant, the ship's proximity alarm chirped. Lyrian glanced at the readout. We're coming up on her station. Jared leaned forward, peering out the viewport. The station in question was less of a station and more of a floating junkyard. A massive, irregular structure drifted in the black, held together by what looked like salvaged ship parts, repurposed tech, and, Jared squinted, possibly duct tape. He exhaled. Oh, this is going to be fun. Lyrian smirked. Brace yourself. She doesn't get a lot of visitors. Jared leaned back. Yeah, I wonder why. The ship docked at one of the rickety-looking airlocks, and Jared followed Lyrian down the ramp, stepping onto what he could only describe as a scrapyard in space. The metal flooring creaked under his boots, and the air smelled faintly of ozone and welding fumes. Before he could comment, a voice rang out from above. Well, 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 if it isn't the traitor and a very confused-looking human. Jared's head snapped up just in time to see a woman perched on a suspended catwalk, goggles pushed up onto her forehead, grease stains smudging her arms. She had short, messy red hair and very sharp teeth, which she was currently flashing in a wicked grin. Lyrian sighed. Hello, Ryla. Ryla hopped down, landing with a thud. You have some nerve showing up here, Lyrian. After what you did. Jared's eyes widened. Wait, what did she... Ryla crossed her arms. You still owe me 50 credits. Jared blinked. That's it? That's a lot of money. Ryla huffed. Lyrian smirked. I'll pay you back. You better, or I'm replacing your ship's gravity stabilizers with a setting that makes you float 3 inches off the floor forever. Jared squinted. Okay, I take back everything I said about this place. I love her. Ryla turned to him, grinning. Ah, so you must be the poor sucker with a tracker shoved in his DNA. Jared sighed. That's me. I assume you can help? Ryla cracked her knuckles. Then he was somewhere else. The room around him was gone, replaced by a vast, shifting space filled with glowing threads of light, weaving and pulsing like an intricate web. It took him a second to realize. Oh no, this is my brain, isn't it? Ryla's voice echoed from somewhere. Ding, ding, ding. Welcome to your neural network. Try not to panic. Jared immediately panicked. How am I supposed to not panic? Breathe, human. Lyrian's voice cut in, steadier than Ryla's. This is just a simulation of your consciousness. Ryla's using a neuro interface to locate the tracker signal. Jared exhaled sharply, looking around. The glowing threads pulsed in strange rhythmic patterns. Some stretched infinitely into the distance, others coiled around themselves like living wires. Ryla's voice echoed again. All right, found it. Now we just need to... Something shifted. Jared felt it before he saw it. A sharp, unnatural presence buried deep within the glowing web. A cold, foreign pulse vibrated through the threads, sending a ripple of unease through his entire being. He swallowed. Guys? I think it knows we're here. The presence moved. One of the glowing strands twisted violently, darkening as something slithered through it. A shape, vague, amorphous, began to form, writhing through his neural pathways. Ryla cursed. Well, that's not good, Jared flailed. Why is there a thing in my brain? Lyrian's voice was sharp. Ryla, what is that? Ryla's fingers danced over unseen controls. I thought it was just a tracker, but this is active. Someone's been using it as a conduit. It's responding to us being here. Jared's eyes widened. You mean someone is watching? The shadowy form lurched. A shockwave of cold ripped through Jared's mind, sending him staggering. The glowing strands of his neural web flickered as the presence coiled tighter. Lyrian's voice came firm and steady. Jared, focus. Push it out. Jared clenched his jaw. Push it out? It's in my brain, Lyrian. You have control. This is your mind. Reject it. The shadow pulsed as if sensing the challenge. Jared gritted his teeth. Oh, screw this. He reached out instinctively, without thinking, grabbing onto the glowing threads around him. His mind flared with resistance, his entire being pushing back against the invading presence. The shadow thrashed. A pulse of heat spread through Jared's consciousness, his mind fighting back. He pushed harder, willing the foreign presence out, forcing it back. The shadow ripped away with a final, ear-splitting screech. The world snapped back to normal. Jared gasped awake, back in the workshop, his body drenched in sweat. His pulse hammered in his ears as he sat up, breathing hard. Ryla stumbled back, rubbing her temples. Okay, Al. That was not fun. Lyrian was already at his side. Jared, are you okay? He blinked at her. No, I am absolutely not okay. There was a thing in my brain, Lyrian. She nodded. But you forced it out. Ryla let out a low whistle. Yeah, and in the process, you fried whatever signal it was sending. You basically just short-circuited your own tracker. Jared exhaled. So, it's gone? Ryla scratched her head. Well, mostly. Jared narrowed his eyes. What do you mean, mostly? Ryla shrugged. I mean, it's not transmitting anymore, but there's still some residual coding. It's like burning a hard drive. Some data still lingers. Jared groaned, dragging a hand down his face. Fantastic. Lyrian studied Ryla. Can it be removed completely? Ryla hesitated. Maybe, but not here. I'd need way more advanced tech. Jared threw his hands up. Oh, great. So what you're saying is, I'm still a walking sci-fi experiment? Ryla grinned. I mean, kinda. Jared groaned. I hate space. Lyrian ignored his dramatics. Ryla, where would we need to go? Ryla's smile faded. If you're serious about completely purging the remnants, there's only one place that has the tech for that. Lyrian's expression darkened. Velmara. Jared groaned again. Why do I feel like I'm not gonna like Velmara? Lyrian sighed. Because it's my home, and it's complicated. Ryla snorted. That's an understatement. Jared rubbed his temples. Wonderful. More complications. Just what I needed. Lyrian placed a hand on his shoulder. It'll be fine. Jared gave her a deadpan look. Lyrian, every single time you say that, things immediately get worse. She smirked. It's part of the adventure. Jared sighed. I need so much more tea for this. Ryla grinned. Welcome to space, buddy. The hangar bay of Velmara's capital station buzzed with activity, a metallic jungle of starships, cargo crates, and engineers shouting over the hum of docking thrusters. Jared stood in the middle of it all, arms crossed, trying to process the insanity of the past few days. He had been tracked, invaded, almost brain-fried, and now, finally, his so-called alien vacation was coming to an end. Except, of course, it hadn't exactly been a vacation. More like an intergalactic survival course that no one had signed him up for. Well, he said, looking at Lyrian, that was fun. She raised an eyebrow. You call that fun? Jared shrugged. I mean, if you ignore the near-death experiences, the brain hacking, and the part where I may or may not have had an evil space parasite in my head, sure, fun. Ryla snorted. I think he's got trauma-induced optimism. Jared shot her a look. Oh, don't act like this wasn't all part of your master plan to turn me into a spacefaring guinea pig. Ryla grinned. I did say you'd make a great test subject. Jared groaned. I hate space. Lyrian smirked. And yet you're still here. He sighed, glancing at the ship they'd borrowed from Velmara's elite research facility. After an absurdly dramatic infiltration, a few narrow escapes, and one very reluctant favor from Lyrian's estranged brother, they'd finally gotten access to the advanced neural cleanser. Now the tracker was gone, fully erased from Jared's nervous system. No residual signals, no hidden code, just a clean slate. And yet, he felt different. Something on your mind? Lyrian asked. Jared hesitated. I don't know, it's weird. I spent all this time trying to get back to normal, but I don't think I can go back to normal, can I? Lyrian was silent for a moment. No, she admitted. Probably not. Jared exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Fantastic. Love that for me. Ryla patted his shoulder. Hey, look on the bright side. You're officially brain parasite free. That's got to be a win. Jared gave her a dry look. If that's my bright side, I need better options. Ryla grinned. Hey, we could always install a new tracker, just for fun. No, Lyrian chuckled. Come on, let's get out of here before my people change their minds about letting us leave. As they walked up the ramp of the ship, Jared paused at the entrance, glancing back at the Velmaran skyline through the station's massive viewing panels. The planet shimmered below, its twin moons casting silver reflections across the cityscape. He had never really seen space before this, at least not like this. Not as something real, something lived in. It wasn't just empty darkness. It was full of stories, of people, of places he never could have imagined back on Earth. Jared exhaled. So, Where to next? Lyrian raised an eyebrow. You're saying that like you're staying. He blinked. Wait, am I not staying? Ryla smirked. Well, we were planning to dump you back on Earth. Unless, you want to stick around. Jared hesitated. The past few days had been terrifying, overwhelming, absolutely insane, but also exciting, ridiculous, kind of amazing. He looked at Lyrian. Do I get paid for this? Lyrian smirked. We'll negotiate, Jared groaned. That means no, doesn't it? Ryla grinned. Welcome to the crew, buddy. As the ship's engines rumbled beneath them, lifting them off the station and back into the vast unknown, Jared sighed dramatically. Yep, definitely gonna regret this.